There are moments in life when everything external seems to be in place, yet inside, there is a quiet ache, a sense that something is missing. You go through the motions, but it all feels strangely distant, like living in a dream that belongs to someone else. If you've ever felt like you don't fit in, like your path must lead somewhere different, somewhere deeper, this message is for you. You are not broken. You are being summoned. There are certain seasons in life when the ordinary no longer satisfies. You wake up, you perform your duties, you interact, and yet, beneath it all, there's a silent murmur, agitation, a restlessness that won't leave you alone. This unease is not something to be dismissed or numbed. It is not a flaw, nor is it evidence of personal failure. Rather, it is the soul whispering that there is more to you, more to your story, more to the life you are meant to live. That discontent is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken you. When an individual becomes restless with the conditions of their life, it is often a sign that they are standing on the threshold of transformation. This is not merely psychological frustration. It is the psyche's way of indicating that your current self-structure has outlived its usefulness. The ego, which once served to organize your identity and integrate your place in the world, begins to feel cramped, like a suit too small for a growing body. The restlessness emerges because the deeper self, the totality of your being, is pushing against the limits of that identity. Something greater wants to emerge, something more aligned with your true nature. And though this process can feel like a breakdown, it is in fact the first stage of breakthrough. To ignore this restlessness is to remain trapped in a life of quiet resignation. You may convince yourself that comfort, predictability, and control are enough. But if the soul has greater ambitions for you, it will not be silenced. The longer you delay this call, the louder it will become, sometimes showing up as anxiety, chronic dissatisfaction, or even depression. But seen correctly, these emotional symptoms are not enemies, they are signals. They are the flare guns of the unconscious, demanding that you pay attention to what is no longer serving you. And if you are brave enough to turn toward them, rather than run from them, you begin to move toward authenticity. You begin to engage in the process of individuation, the sacred journey of becoming who you were meant to be. Not who society told you to be. But the soul does not communicate in the language of logic. It does not email you, or leave neatly written letters. It speaks in images, symbols, feelings, and most powerfully in dreams. The dream is the royal road to the unconscious, as it bypasses the guarded gates of the rational mind, and delivers truths too potent for waking thought. When a person begins to dream, recurring themes, falling, flying, searching for something lost, or encountering mysterious figures, these are not random neurological firings. These are messages, warnings, invitations. In many cases, these recurring dreams are the soul's attempt to illuminate what the conscious self refuses to see. Take, for instance, the image of a journey. If you frequently dream of being on a road, or missing a train, or being lost in a city, these symbols often reflect your psychological state. Are you ignoring a call to adventure? Are you walking a path that is not your own? The unconscious mind will dramatize this conflict through metaphor. Or consider the dream of confronting a shadowy figure, a thief, a monster, or a dark stranger. This is often your shadow, the repressed or disowned parts of your psyche, seeking integration. To dream of such a figure is not to be threatened, is to be summoned. You are being called to reclaim something within you that was exiled, perhaps long ago. Symbols are not just artifacts of myth or poetry. They are the very currency of the unconscious. They carry with them the weight of millennia, the shared archetypal patterns of the collective human experience. When a symbol appears in your dreams, your task is not merely to decode it intellectually, but to feel into it, to relate to it, to wrestle with it until its personal relevance is revealed. This engagement with symbolic life is what gives depth and meaning to your existence. It is how you begin to realize that your life is not a random sequence of events, but a story, a sacred drama unfolding according to a deeper logic, one that the ego cannot fully grasp. And within that sacred drama, few roles are more misunderstood than that of the shadow. We are taught to suppress, to deny, to reject those parts of ourselves deemed unacceptably: our rage, our envy, our lust, our cowardice, our ambition. And yet, paradoxically, these very traits, when acknowledged and integrated, often hold the key to our power. What we repress does not disappear. It festers in the unconscious, growing stronger, more distorted, more dangerous. But when we bring it into awareness, when we own it without shame, it becomes a source of vitality. The shadow is not the enemy. It is the rejected twin of your conscious self, holding everything you need to become whole. It contains your passion, your creativity, your assertiveness, your voice, all the qualities you are taught to fear or deny. That is why it is often said that the treasure you seek is hidden in the cave you fear to enter. To confront your shadow is to reclaim your inner authority. It is to cease living a fragmented life and to begin living an integrated one. This confrontation, however, is not easy. The process of shadow work requires tremendous courage, for it involves the death of illusions, the illusions you've built about who you are, what you're capable of, and how the world works. But if you can endure the discomfort, what you find on the other side is nothing short of transformational. You become less dependent on external validation. You cease being manipulated by unconscious fears. You begin to act from a place of authenticity and inner strength. It is often those who are drawn to silence, to introspection, to mystery, who are most primed for this journey. These are not the loud voices in the crowd, but the quiet ones watching from the edges, sensing something deeper, waiting for their moment to arise. If you've ever felt out of place, if you've ever sensed that you were meant for something more than what your environment reflects back to you, trust that feeling. The world may not validate your potential, but your unconscious does. Your dreams, your restlessness, your shadow, they all bear witness to a truth that cannot be measured by conventional standards. To be meant for something greater does not mean fame, status, or wealth. It means depth. It means living from the center of your being rather than its surface. It means choosing the path that demands your transformation over the one that ensures your comfort. And that path always begins with a sign, a discontent, a dream, a confrontation with the part of yourself you were told to hide. If you are experiencing any of these signs, then you are not off track. You are exactly where the journey begins. The experience of being set apart, of feeling like you do not belong, is often misinterpreted as a defect. We are social beings, conditioned from early childhood to seek acceptance and harmony within the tribe. So, when we find ourselves on the margins, misunderstood, questioned, isolated, we internalized this condition as failure. Yet, what if this very estrangement is the preparation ground for something more sacred? To walk alone is not a punishment. It is often the soul's way of detaching you from distractions, illusions, and dependencies that would otherwise prevent you from discovering your own depth. Solitude, in this light, becomes not a void, but a crucible, a container for transformation. When an individual undergoes deep inner shifts, the outer world becomes less hospitable to them. They may lose friendships that once felt vital. Their conversations may feel forced, as though the language they once spoke no longer fits in their mouth. This disorientation is not accidental. The path to individuation requires shedding former identities. It requires stepping outside of inherited expectations. The caterpillar does not grow wings in the company of other caterpillars. It undergoes metamorphosis in the cocoon, alone. And in that sacred stillness, it surrenders everything it once was to become everything it was meant to be. This rite of isolation is one of the oldest motifs in human mythology. The desert fathers withdrew into barren landscapes to confront their demons. Prophets wandered the wilderness. Heroes were exiled. It is a universal pattern because it reflects a universal truth. The greater the transformation, the more necessary the detachment from the familiar. If you find yourself walking through a season where no one seems to understand you, where even your own thoughts frighten you with their intensity, know that you are not broken. You are being shaped. The gods do not send their messengers into the noise. They draw them into silence so they can hear the voice that speaks beneath all voices. In this silence, something remarkable begins to happen. The inner world becomes more vivid. Symbols, intuitions, old memories rise to the surface. The psyche, no longer distracted by external obligations, begins its work of reordering. And in that reordering, suffering often becomes unavoidable. Not as punishment, but as purification. Pain, when experienced consciously, is not destructive, is revealing. It exposes the gaps between who you pretend to be and who you really are. It highlights the inconsistencies, the unhealed wounds, the suppressed fears. And it offers a profound invitation to make sense of suffering by giving it meaning. To suffer without meaning is to be trapped in chaos. But to suffer with purpose is to be forged. You begin to see that the very thing that broke you was also the thing that broke you open. The heartbreak that shattered your innocence also opened your heart to compassion. The loss that devastated you forced you to find an identity beyond what you had. The failure that embarrassed you revealed the truth about your strength. These are not incidental. They are initiations. And this is perhaps the most astonishing truth about the human psyche. It does not seek to eliminate suffering, but to redeem it. Meaning transforms agony into sacrifice, confusion into clarity, despair into depth. You begin to understand that your pain has architecture. It was building something in you: resilience, courage, empathy, wisdom. And when you honor your pain, when you listen to what it is asking of you, rather than numbing it or escaping it, it begins to transform. You find that within your wound lies your task, your calling, the part of life you are uniquely qualified to speak to heal, to lead. No one who has ever carried something significant has done so without suffering. Greatness is not born in moments of ease. It emerges from crucibles, from the fire of doubt, from the pressure of grief. If you carry pain that others don't understand, it may be because your destiny is not like theirs. You are being trained in silence for something that will speak loudly, but only if you allow the pain to teach you, rather than destroy you. And when you begin to open to this reality, when you begin to walk through life with a sense that everything is speaking, that every experience, every tear, every encounter has meaning, then you will start to notice something else. Certain moments, certain encounters, feel unusually charged. A book appears at just the right time. A stranger says something that speaks directly to your condition. A decision, made impulsively, sets you on a path you didn't plan, but now cannot imagine living without. These moments are not coincidences in the trivial sense. They are synchronicities, events that are meaningfully connected, though not causally related. They are the fingerprints of the unconscious manifesting through the outer world. Synchronicities are how the deeper self communicates when dreams are not enough. They are moments of convergence, where inner readiness meets outer opportunity. They are not signs that life is easy, but that life is speaking. And if you are attentive, if you live not from the narrow ego, but from the wider self, you will begin to move in harmony with these invisible currents. You will begin to live symbolically, to listen for what things mean, not just what they are. And in doing so, you will realize that your life is not a series of disconnected events, but a tapestry, woven with intention. These moments do not occur at random. They tend to cluster around periods of transition, deep questions, and spiritual awakening. They arise when the unconscious is ready to birth something into consciousness, and they often appear with uncanny precision, challenging your skepticism and inviting your trust. But they are subtle. If you are consumed by noise, distraction, or cynicism, you may miss them entirely. That is why solitude, silence, and attentiveness are not luxuries, they are necessities. They sharpen your perceptions so that you can receive the messages that are always being sent. To live in alignment with synchronicity is to live in a kind of dialogue with the world. You begin to act, not just react. You begin to participate in the unfolding of your own myth. Life becomes less about control and more about cooperation with the unconscious, with the symbolic, with the unknown. And in this participation, a deep sense of purpose emerges, not because you have everything figured out, but because you finally feel connected to something greater than yourself. So if you are someone who walks alone, who suffers deeply, who notices patterns and feels meanings where others see only randomness, then understand this: you are not delusional. You are awakening. You are being drawn into your deeper life, not away from life. The outer world may not recognize it, may even resist it, but the inner world knows. The inner world always knows.